Hi, Mark Graham here, the property sommelier. How's things today? Um, we are right into the morning now, and so we just wanted to do a bit of a live session as far as updating on what we've got going on in our business today, as is the way, and the reason and the why of our live sessions and everything to give people an insight into basically all the run of the mill, boring details, if you like, of what's involved and what we're involved with in our daily work and life as far as our deal packaging and joint venture business is concerned. Basically, ultimately finding and presenting and putting together great property investment deals for people who want to invest. So what's going on today? What are we going to be talking about? Well, in between the drill going next door and things like that, sorry about that, we are going to be talking about our deal of the day. I'll certainly put that one in. It's an interesting one, in the countryside. And also we're going to be talking about lending and the opportunities that are available to investors to lend straight up money. A few things to watch out for there, and just a few observations as far as the marketplace is concerned for just straight return percentage money. A little word about overseas investors. We've got more of them communicating with us now. No secret about the influx of people that are coming to the United Kingdom, especially from Asia, as far as Hong Kong is concerned, and things like that. And they have been coming for a couple of years, well, a few years now, in this latest wave, you could call it. And so they're investing and connecting, and we have somebody who looks after those connections and a lot of that interaction and reach out from our side. And yeah, it's great to be getting the conversations and for people to be coming through and sharing their requirements and seeing what we can do there. So yeah, we're going to have a little bit on the auctions and how things developing there as far as our interaction with them is concerned and what we're doing. And then, because quite honestly, the last people that are going to be listening to this will probably have left halfway through, and the style of it is that people will come in for a few minutes and then leave. For those that are interested in the social media and the subject of social media marketing and everything, I always put little tips like this in. I'm actually going to talk about the deal of the day at the end as well, so that there's a couple of opportunities to catch that. So yeah, that's what's going on there. So let me basically start by I'll get right into the subject of what I was discussing at the beginning, which is straight up lending. That's where basically you lend your money to somebody for interest that you could get more interest for than if it was sitting in the bank. I don't know what the bank rate is at the moment, the lending rate. It's possibly around about 3 or 4%, I think. The odd person talks about it, it's slightly more, depending on what amazing deal they've got going on. But ultimately, if you're doing that, you basically need to make sure that it's secure. I would say that you're the person who's going to get their money before other people involved in the project or the deal get theirs, seeing as you're the person that's bringing the money along. I think that's very important. Along with doing your due diligence, making sure who you're dealing with, feeling it out, and the deal and the people involved. And so, of course, excuse me, you want to be very comfortable that you're happy with the experience people that you're working with and how that's working out and what's going on there. So, and just that everything basically has a good feeling for you and it all seems to add up and that type of thing. Now, there's a lot of variation in what people are paying you for this money when you put it in there, into the deal for the time that you do it. Ideally, you're getting 1% or 2% more than what you would be getting in the bank. sometimes it's worthwhile for people like us to pay people a few more percent than that. We're talking potentially approaching double figures. And this is just for straight lending, guaranteed return. And so that comes into the picture. And it's not too outrageous. There are quite a few people that are very comfortable with those levels of return to pay people that lend them money and provide the security that can require as far as you, the lender, are going to be looking for. Now then, we are very aware of opportunities to borrow money and getting well into double figures. People are paying up to 20% sometimes. And that, unless it's just a short-term thing with somebody you know very well, and it's somebody who's basically paying a high percentage just to make it worth your while for going through the process, then you would need to be very careful. One of the things that we are noticing at the moment, there's a lot of people in the marketplace, well, not a lot of people, but a lot of people are becoming aware of it in the marketplace, that there are one or two operators working around certain areas of the market in property, and they're offering, like I said, approaching 20%, which is huge. It's massive over 2 or 3 years. These numbers are, a year ago, were very surprising and attractive, and very much getting out there. People were starting to talk about it. It seemed reasonable enough on face value. The story behind it seems okay. However, the more people that I've seen get involved as far as digging around and checking things out more rigorously, if you like, there are still some questions unanswered by a lot of this money, and a lot of people around the industry are very, very suspicious on exactly how this is possibly going to work out long term. So one thing you've got to be aware of as an investor is who you're investing with, what their connection to you is, what their goal is, what their big plan is, how they are looking. If you can't find them on social media, there's definitely something concerning there. If they are very, very visible on social media, then you also want to be taking in what exactly these people are doing, what their personalities seem like, and how it looks. So, and unfortunately, in this country, we've got a scenario whereby people can do fraudulent things and they know exactly how to do it, and they can do it in plain sight, and they can be not so easily followed up by the police don't want to know, and the Serious Fraud Office are basically looking at things that are harming the country and cannot handle that many cases whatsoever. And so there's a lot of people that can operate with dubious tactics, kidding themselves that everything will be fine, but really 2 or 3 years down the line, it's very difficult to see how their business model is not going to hit a brick wall, splattering your money return, but are completely with it. In other words, that money is not coming back to you. It's already been in their coffers or spent or whatever. However, if you've listened to this any time, you know I don't like to get into negativity very much, but that's just a point as far as lending money to be very, very careful of. We have very little infrastructure to deal with the run-of-the-mill everyday fraudsters in this country, and you should be very, very aware of it. So that's just something I wanted to point out as far as that's concerned. As far as reasonable lending is concerned, as far as money that you've got set times to be getting back, as far as people you know who are known by other people, and it all feels good, looks good, you get a good feeling, the people that you trust get a good feeling about it, it all seems fine, then that is the type of thing that I think it's certainly worth looking into if that's what you're looking for. And there are people who that's what they prefer. They don't really want to be part of a deal. They just want to put some money in to what they believe to be a safe deal, know exactly what they're getting back, done and dusted. Um, and there are a lot of people like that around property who are very comfortable with that. And so I wanted to mention that today and a few things to be aware of around it. And by all means, if it's something that you're interested in and would like to talk to us about, as I always say, please feel free to communicate. Now then, moving on from that, I'm going to go through the deal of the day right now. And the deal of the day is a big one. It's a lot of money. For various reasons, we are looking to find an investor who basically wants to bankroll the whole deal as far as this one's concerned. And so that's a deal that's available. It's in the countryside. It's a very, very high end in the countryside in the south of England. Very, very high end and wealthy small town. And it's a refurbishment. We're not building anything from scratch. So this is about a 12-month situation. It's going to be refurbishing several houses, and they're coming from offices. They were houses a long time ago. They then became offices. They're going back to houses, and it's basically a fantastic deal. There are certain quirks to it as far as the building's listed. Our people that are involved in it, in our team, are completely comfortable with that. And it looks like a really good deal. There's no question about it. We have numbers on it. We've done our research. We've talked to the property consultants and things like that. Sorry, the planning consultants and things like that. It is a straightforward scenario. And so, yeah, it's very simple. It's basically, it needs about £1 million cash. And the profits from this will be round about 500 to 600,000. So that's something that somebody might be interested in. You might know somebody's interested in it. You may well be sitting there thinking, who on earth's got £1 million in cash? Actually, a lot more people than you might think. And so it's very worthwhile, and I'm very comfortable talking about that here. However, one thing that is specific is the fact that this is not in London. You know, I'm speaking from London now. This is in the countryside. It is in the south of England. So it is very much connected with the uplift in asset value that we've come to be very comfortable with and used to in the south of England. And that's what's going on there. So an absolutely great project. Round about £1 million in, and round about 12 months, you're going to be getting, or the profit from the project is going to be 500,000 to 600,000. So that's that one discussed. I will, as I said, come on to that one later again, because we have people coming in and leaving at all points. And if anybody wants to communicate about that, by all means, please do. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about today was the as I mentioned, we are getting and seeing a lot more overseas investors that are interacting with us, and that we're aware that are aware of this. This, by the way, goes out in video form. It's chopped up and used in the usual social media way, and so that happens all the time. So this message, this very clip or part that we're talking about right now, you could well see it somewhere in 3 or 4 weeks' time going out if it's pushing or talking about a certain point of a message that we think might be useful to people out there as far as the use of that is concerned for those looking for investments. So yeah, a lot of Asians are communicating and interacting. Now then, Britain, despite all the turmoil that we see here, and despite what our press seem determined to the picture they seem determined to paint of doom and gloom so often, continues as always to be in pretty good shape moving forward compared to many, many other parts of the rest of the world. And so, for instance, there are many people around the world who are very happy to have their money in a bank in the United Kingdom just or a property in the United Kingdom, just so that they know it's still there when they come to get it. Honestly, some of them don't even care if it's not quite as much. The main bulk of their lump sum in the United Kingdom, they know it's still there. And that's the important thing to them. Going through the range of people that like to invest in the United Kingdom, um, ethically, morally, and legally correctly, by the way. We're not talking about money that wouldn't pass any source of earnings tests that obviously the legal people have to do. However, these people, they bring the money here. There are some that are looking for interest. There are some that are moving here with the money and they want to get investments and things like that. So those people, there are lots of opportunities here. Um, it is, as we know, completely, you could say, safe as houses comparatively to a lot of other parts of the world. Other countries that we talk about sometimes are simply countries with histories of the quirky things happening with their banking industry every decade or two. Uh, we're talking about countries that don't have the most stable of governments. We're not just talking about messy governments like ours sometimes and messy politicians. We're talking about completely erratic regimes and warring factions, and one government's in and another one's doing a coup, the military's doing a coup, and things like that. We're talking about instability like that. We're not just talking about messy stuff like you get here sometimes. And so these are the types of countries and these are the kind of people that are bringing their funds to here, putting them into our banks and our assets. And these are people that if that's something that you're involved in or thinking of or a position you're in, then we're very comfortable and happy to speak. And if you're just learning about the United Kingdom, there are many, many people. There's a whole industry around this in London, for instance, that can help you with that. You don't have to come and speak to us, speak to anybody, speak to us and speak to other people. Find out where you feel you're getting the right situation. And so that's something that's very important as far as what this country has to offer and what can happen as far as that's concerned. Even with the turmoil that we see in the country from day to day, and like I said, what our press would have us believe, it's still a very, very stable place, and I have no doubt it will continue to be that way. Even so, we have a new government right now. So moving on from that, we're actually working a lot, as I've mentioned in previous weeks. We'll be doing this today as well, as far as keeping an eye on more familiarity, interacting, communicating with a lot more auction properties than we have in the past. As I mentioned, we have a very good associate who is the legal head and can very quickly get the gist of a legal pack for us. And so we can basically check whatever we want and make sure everything's predominantly okay before we spend time working on that product and bringing that to an investor before we need to start incurring greater legal costs, if you like. We've got some very good legal people to deal with this as far as the paid scenario when that's concerned with legal people at certain levels and different levels to deal with different complexity of deals. And we also have our own in-house associates as far as being able to basically check over these things and give it the first nod for it to be worth talking about, discussing, and showing to our investors. So yeah, that exercise is coming along nicely. The experience is there as far as our team is concerned, and we're comfortable being involved in that and getting more involved in that now. But also, in my day to day, which obviously anything that I'm doing is to basically help you as far as being a listener to learn things, or potentially a client or a client if you're already a client, to help you, and what I'm doing is benefiting you. We're developing our software at the moment that we work with as far as sourcing properties, comparables, etc. There's always work going on with that. We use outsourced resources, we also use our own interpretations and um, connections with that software. I think we call it add-ons or something. So yes, we've got our own systems as far as that's concerned that work in combination with that. I'm doing some work on that today, just for more in-depth, better comparables, more information at hand. A lot of them, I will say, in all honesty, is speeding up the process of us being able to assess things. But there's always a little edge that we find, excuse me, as far as showing you the details of it too. Now, if anybody's received a property from us, shown an interest, and we're showing you the property, you might find that you might realize there's not a huge amount of points there, but we're going to use the key performance indicators to give you an idea of what potentially this deal's all about. And then if it's very interesting, you want to spend more time on it, then we're happy to discuss it and also send a lot more comparables, backup information, interpretations, etc., etc. That's the type of thing we do. And so that's how that works. The systems allow us more and more. What technology is doing is just absolutely mind-boggling. So that's going on. You may well wonder why you don't get all the information all at once, and that is because, quite honestly, everybody's got more questions, and so we put out the basics, the nuts and bolts, the stuff that can be consumed in a minute, minute and a half, for that person to realize if they'd like to move on and learn more about it. Time is everything. We work with companies and are aware of companies all around us that have a healthy disregard for your time. You can tell that by the amount of time we spend on the phone waiting to get through to people. Your phone call is very important to us. I don't think so. Otherwise, I'd be speaking to you right now. So I can assure you, from our point of view, we want you to be able to get a proper in-depth conversation when the time is right for you, but also we want to work with your time as absolutely efficiently as possible. And so we want to make things as easy to consume and the process as easy as possible, because everything is about time. If I get somebody send me a deal and I've got lots of attachments to sift through, and they're not telling me what the opportunity is, and I've got to dig around, I have no idea what this is. I could spend an hour in there and it'd be absolutely nothing. And so, guess what? That wouldn't happen now. If anybody's sending me a deal, if I can't get the rough idea of it within about a minute or two max, then I'm not really going to dig much deeper. If I've got a lot of questions, I'm not really going to ask a lot of questions either. If I think if this is coming to me from a professional, then I expect the answers to be predominantly there, and then the key items to be there, and then I can ask more thereafter. But at the beginning, if I haven't got the key indicators, then it tells me that they're not really thinking of the key indicators that we're looking for, that you're looking for, and so they're not really doing their property the best service, and we don't have the time to go through everything that anybody decides to send into our inbox to see what it's doing. So yeah, your time is very important to us, and how much we use of it and how useful the information you're getting is. Now then, moving on, I mentioned the fact that I was going to talk about the deal of the day again, and so I'm still not incredibly fantastic at checking exactly who's listening at any point. I'm kind of still a little bit self-conscious about staring at the screen and things like that when people are watching. But this is, as I mentioned many times, it's about the quirks of doing social media and doing lives and things like that. We get used to it. The main thing is I tell everybody is just don't be frightened by it, don't be concerned by it, just see what you can see and do what you do without being self-conscious. But basically, I'm going to mention the deal of the day again because people come in and go all the time. So the deal of the day is today, and the one we're working on diligently this week is it's in the countryside. I think you could call it the West Country, definitely. It's basically a few houses that were turned into offices years ago. They're going back into houses. It's an absolutely fantastic deal. It's going to take about £1 million to put it to do the deal, and it's going to bring back in around about 1 year's time around about £500,000 or £600,000. And so that's what we're looking at as far as the project profits are concerned. If that's of any interest to anybody or anyone knows somebody who might be interested in that, then by all means communicate. It is an excellent deal. It's in the countryside. It's in a very high-end small town, and it's very sought after properties that we're dealing with, and it's looking beautiful. We've got a fantastic team around it. Basically, there is a little bit of planning involved, basically PD, and there is a little bit of time concern there, but we've got a very, very good case, hence the reason the profit is potentially so high as far as the price that we're prepared to pay for it. So basically, if that's of any interest to anybody, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of people might think, who on earth's got £1 million to put into something like this? You'd be surprised. There are quite a few people around. We've met and talked with quite a few over the last year, very successfully. And so this one is outside of London. It is in the south of England. It benefits from that asset lift that the south of England has and has had for decades and decades. And so for anyone in the market for something like this, very